Hi, my name is Nicole. Welcome to my channel, Travel to Money. In this video, I'll talk about how I book the best Airbnb deals, my list of must-have items at an Airbnb, and some of the mistakes I've made booking with Airbnb. To those returning viewers, thank you so much for coming back. If you are new here, I have created this channel to help you learn about how to travel, adventure, and have fun on the road to financial independence. I have traveled the world, both solo and duo. I paid off a house in Spain, plus I have worked smarter and harder to help me move toward financial independence. I believe that the road to financial freedom can and should be fun. I hope that you'll subscribe and join me on this journey, no matter where you are starting from. One of the main highlights of this channel is working toward financial independence. Sometimes this means finding creative ways to make more money, and other times it means finding creative ways to save money. Sometimes I think you also have to balance quality of life with those decisions you make. Personally, I like to enjoy the journey, but this doesn't mean you can't save along the way. If you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen a recent series I've been doing where I compare the cost of renting a one-bedroom apartment in the United States with the cost of renting an Airbnb for a month in some other destination in the world. In the United States, average rent for a basic apartment tends to be around $1,200 per month, and that does not include the utilities. After utilities, you would be spending at least $1,400 or $1,500 every month. But what if I told you that in Europe, South America, and Southeast Asia, you could pay monthly rent of less than $500 and it would include all of your utilities? There are probably more places as well. It is literally cheaper to travel the world than it is to stay at home. Of course, in order to make it work, you need to have some sort of income that is either based on remote work or passive income streams. But here is the cool thing. If you live off of $40,000 in the US, you don't have to make that kind of money in order to live abroad. You might be able to live off of $20,000 or $30,000. So if you are trying to shift your life from a job where you have to report to work every day, you don't need to match that income dollar for dollar. The most expensive part of travel is usually transportation. But if you have a free schedule, you can book flights when they are the cheapest. Slow travel is the best way to save money, and staying in an Airbnb for at least 1 month at a time will give you the best discounts. Many countries will allow you to stay for 90 days. So if you only had to move to a different country every 90 days, you could live in 4 different countries over the course of a year, paying minimal amounts for transportation and saving big on living expenses. The first thing you want to select when booking an Airbnb are dates that exceed 28 days. This means the price it shows you for each listing will be per month instead of per night. Most hosts offer a discount for staying 1 month or more, and some of these discounts are massive. When I look for an Airbnb, I start by selecting the boxes that are must-have for me. These are the check boxes that I select. First is Wi-Fi. I work from home, so having an internet connection is a must. You can't assume that every Airbnb will have this, so it's important that you think about each item that you require. The second box I select is entire place. This means that I'm not willing to just rent a room, but I want the entire rental space to myself. If you are willing to rent a room from people, you could find even cheaper places to stay. For me, because it is so cheap to rent a whole space, I'd prefer to have the privacy, especially because I work from home all day. But I have hosted people before who rented a bedroom from me, and it can really be a lot of fun. If you are traveling and rent a bedroom, it gives you access to locals and can be an awesome way to meet new people and hear great stories. The next item I select is a kitchen. This is something else that you might assume is part of every rental, but it's not necessarily, so make sure you select this if you are planning to cook from home. For me, during long-term travel, a kitchen is essential, and it's another way to save money so that you don't have to pay for eating out all the time. However, many places you travel to have very low costs for eating out, so you will probably be able to enjoy that as well. The next item I select is that the accommodation have at least one bed. Airbnb lets you put the amount of beds separate from the amount of bedrooms. So you might rent a studio apartment, but I want it to have at least one bed. If you are fine with couch sleeping, you don't have to select this, but this one is important to me. When I've traveled with my friend, I would select 2 beds and 2 bedrooms. Unfortunately, we've had at least one situation I can remember where we arrived and the 2 bedrooms were separated by an open archway, which meant that they weren't really separate, and that kind of sucked. As a host, I think it's always best to advertise what you really have. Don't say you have 2 bedrooms if you really only have one, and don't say you have a bed if it's really just a couch. Fortunately, the pictures can really help you out as you determine what is best for you. Have you ever stayed in an Airbnb where it wasn't what you expected? Tell me about it in the comments. I've certainly had a funny experience or two. Hopefully, you can just learn from my mistakes and not have to deal with them yourself. Next, I select that the Airbnb must have a bathroom. Trust me, all of these details are important. The next item I select is usually air conditioning. I can't stand to be hot when I sleep, so in most places this is a must for me. If I'm booking during the winter months, I may decide to leave this one off. Next, I select a washing machine. I usually don't select a dryer. In many places I've traveled to, a dryer is a luxury, even across Europe. So if I select that I want a dryer, the amount of listings available significantly decreases. At least with a washer, I can do my laundry at home. Most places will at least have drying racks. I do remember when my friend and I were in Montenegro, we constantly had clothes hanging to dry all over the house. It was a mess, but that's just what we lived with. So these are the must-have items for me when I book an Airbnb. Now that I have all of my important items selected, I will adjust the price range. Airbnb is automatically set to show you everything from $150 per month to $15,000 per month. If you don't change the price range, it will only show you a variety of listings, but this will not necessarily include your lowest price listings. You may think you've seen everything, but it's so important to adjust the maximum price in order to see the best deals. I usually start by moving the maximum price down to $300. In some places, this might actually give you a lot of results. If there isn't anything available or only 1 or 2 listings, I'll slowly increase the price until I have at least 20 or 30 listings to look through. You will have more results if you look across a whole country instead of a specific city. Although large cities like Athens, Valencia, Paris, and places like that will usually still have a lot of options. Other things may impact the price and the amount of listings available. If you're visiting a city during a peak tourist season, prices will likely be higher as there is less availability. Let me walk you through a live example of Croatia. Here I've selected all of the items mentioned before. I'm going to start at the $300 area and work my way up. Once there are at least a group of listings to look through, I'll start to have a look at the specifics of each listing. I always appreciate when a host has a very detailed description, but the reviews can be helpful as well. As I read through the descriptions and the reviews, I'll be looking for things like if there are grocery stores and coffee shops within walking distance. How comfortable are the beds? How reliable is the Wi-Fi? And things of that nature. I don't mind paying $100 more per month if it means the bedding is comfortable. I also don't mind paying $100 or $200 more per month if it means I am in walking distance from everything that I need. If any particular location requires you to have a car rental, this expense can get out of hand depending on where you are visiting. Some hosts may offer additional items or services as well. My friend and I rented a 2-bedroom condo of sorts on Airbnb from a family in Bali. The family lived in the downstairs floor and we lived on the upper floor. They have an extra car and a scooter that they rent out for an additional cost and would only charge us on the days that we used them. We were close to the city of Ubud, so we would rent the scooter on days that we were going into the city where traffic would be more difficult in a car, and we would rent a car from them when we were traveling to another city and had a longer drive. In places like Bali, if you get into an accident, you just negotiate with the other people. Things like insurance and official car rental companies are not as necessary. Now, this is not official advice. I'm just saying I rented from the family and there was no paperwork and it was really cheap. Another service they offered was laundry. We would literally leave a bag of laundry on the porch and a day or two later it would be washed, pressed, and folded, waiting at our door. This Airbnb rental also included a fresh breakfast every day that the woman from downstairs would cook for us each morning. We would simply leave our front door open when we were ready for breakfast, and she would make something for us like fresh omelets or French toast, and it would usually be accompanied by a fresh smoothie or freshly squeezed juice. The breakfast was included in the cost of our stay. The total for our 2-week stay in this 2-bedroom space with breakfast included was $322. If we had stayed for a month, I bet it would have been less than $600 per month. And this comes with a fresh breakfast every day. That cost did not include the car or the scooter rental or the laundry service, but those were super cheap as well. Can you think of anywhere in the US where you can stay for less than $600 per month and have breakfast included? I guess if you live with your parents, maybe, but that's about it. If you have learned something new here, I sure hope you'll join me by subscribing and liking this video, joining me on this journey where travel and adventure build financial freedom. I can't wait to see where your dreams will take you.